Hi folks, this is Tim again with Tim's Project Car. I'm back on the Oldsmobile project. It's been a cold winter. I haven't done a whole lot out here because, you know, this drafty old barn. it's expensive and difficult to heat. I got a few switches because the switches were all bad in the car. They're from Speedway Motors. They're universal fit ones. I guess you would use them in street rods mostly. Got a wiper switch here. I also have the headlight switch, and you know, I got a dimmer switch which I think is stock replacement. At least it looks just like the old one here because that was frozen solid in my Oldsmobile. Also, what I'm going to be working on is the switch panel and the ignition switch install into the dash. I'm deleting the panel that used to run the heater controls because the air conditioning is trashed anyway, so I deleted that. And I'm going to just have a toggle switch to run the defroster fan. That way, in case of a rainy day, I have defrost, but the rest of that area is going to have, you know, toggle switches for various things. And I plan on putting a metal panel on the inner fender well here where I have my my wiring block there and stuff, so that way it'll be properly located. And that'll be my thing for this video. Okay, here we are up under the dash. Still looks like a rat's nest, but it's less of a rat's nest. There's just some wires that are, you know, it's a brake light switch, there's blinkers, and a few other things that I have to still dope out. This here is the wires that control the windshield wiper. Here's the plug that goes to the headlights and parking light switches. It's going to the dimmer switch. So everything is pretty well doped out. And what's left to tuck back in is waiting for the switches to be hooked up and for the circuits to be proven. So we're coming along. Okay, so here's the dash as I'm putting it together. I got the key switch installed. I have my little switch panel installed. My air conditioning was completely trashed, so I decided to take out this control panel for the air conditioning. Where I live, you had to have a working defroster, so I'm just going to have a toggle switch to run the defroster motor, and the heater box just set permanently to defrost. That way it's legal, but I can have this panel here instead of having it under the dash or something crazy like that. This switch doesn't match the other three, and the reason why is that's the emergency kill switch for the fuse panel underneath the original fuse box. That way, if you're on the road and you notice, you know, smoke coming out from under the dash, and myself and 3 others I know have had that happen, you could kill that immediately, hopefully before you've damaged anything. And the engine will stay running because it's running off of its own power. Separately, you can pull off the road safely and then figure out what's wrong. Because when my Chrysler caught on fire, the time it took me to run around the car and unhook the battery, it had already destroyed a bunch of wiring. Luckily, the whole car didn't go up, but I had a lot of work to do after. So this switch is that emergency kill switch. And over here, there's going to be one for the electric fan. I'm going to have both the electric fan and the original clutch fan. Actually, the clutch is bad. I got to replace that. And this one here will be for fog lights probably, and then that'll complete it. I've already doped out the plugs, traced wires. I need a new dimmer switch as well, so those 3 things will be taken care of. And after that, I believe I could put the steering column in and maybe even leave the brake booster on for 10 minutes without removing it over and over. We're getting close to that point where I can turn stuff on. Here's a quick look at the panel that I'm making. It's just test fit here a little bit. These 2 bolts are just to show, because the fender, when it goes on, it bolts here and here, and this will be pinched in between the fender and the this plastic inner fender well. This here will be bolted on like so. I have a a circuit breaker here that has to go on here. I'm going to probably put one of those wire ties here, probably another relay here because it's going to be running the fan off of a relay, so I'll probably place that there, and the wire will be going along like this and held in place, and so it'll be kind of tidied up a little bit. Okay, here it is with a little bit more work done. I got this bolted onto here, so that'll be kind of tidied up. Here's the relay that I'm going to wire to the defroster fan when I get to it. Got this anchored here. There will probably be another anchor down there somewhere eventually, but right now the next step is to start running the control wires from my switch panel and ignition switch through here into this, and then I can finalize things. Okay, I've had some more progress here. I ran the some control wires from the switch panel and the ignition switch down through here into this block here. This goes to the distributor. I unhooked it so it wouldn't be hot while I'm testing other circuits, and but it goes there. I put a ground on here to go up to the headlights, and so now so far everything is working. In here, the ignition switch is on. It does crank. Of course, I don't have gas in it. But this switch here controls power to the main panel. So right now, I don't have the light switch in, but that wire's jumping for the headlights. And the headlights do, in fact, work. It's on high beam now. Got the new dimmer switch in. Now I got low beam. So it's one thing at a time. It's going to take a while because this car's been sitting for probably 20 years. The inspection sticker is 20 years old on it anyway. So I can't speak to whether someone drove it uninspected, but it's been that long since it passed inspection. Okay, taillights are working. Got those working. Had a little bit of trouble. Had a couple of blown bulbs, and also I had a bad socket back here. This socket had to be replaced. Now this one here isn't identical. It's just out of my inventory of junk. This one here is from a newer one with a plastic taillight. So I had to put in this ground screw here. These old cars, this is metal, and these sockets ground to the metal taillight. If you're used to working on newer stuff, you wouldn't, normally there's a ground wire in the harness, but in this car there isn't. So that's just a little tidbit. Okay, now it's time to start hooking up my new light switch. I found the taillights, I found the headlights, and the others will get discovered as well. One thing I like to do is, this mess here is just a wiring harness saved out of I don't even know what anymore, but it has a bunch of different colors to it. So if you're lucky, you can find the correct color when you're patching things up, instead of having just all reds or all blacks or whatever, and then you can't remember 5 years from now when you have to repair it again. So on to work. Okay, here it is. I have the new light switch wired in. I have it taped up in good shape in case things touch. The wires I got from that other harness, I got the right colors to go in here. I saved the original plug in case I ever got the urge to put the original switch back in. I mean a good original one. I have one more wire left on here that I can use, which is a hot wire that goes here. It's hard to see, so that I can get power to other things if I want to, just by plugging into that. But these 4 wires take care of the tail lights, the front parking lights, and the headlights. So now I'll go about installing the switch in the dash. Okay, walking around during the dark a little bit. We have all lights here going. Going in the back. There's tail light. There's the other tail light. That's working well. Looking good. Okay, this is where it's at. I got the wiper switch in. I got the headlight switch in. Shut those down. The wiper knob, I gotta find a longer knob because this is countersunk. It does work though. We have wipers. Okay, what's handy about this, the way I've wired it, as you can see, headlights are on out there. If you turn the key off, everything goes out. So it's more like today's cars, the way I wired it. That way, if you forget things, because you can surmise that if you're driving your modern car every day and you only drive your antique once in a while, you could forget something like that. Leave your headlights on, and then you come out and your battery's dead. Same thing with dome lights and all of that. It's a little less convenient because with the key off, the dome lights don't work. So when you're getting in the car, but I think overall this works out better. So now the next step is to move on to putting the steering column. I will probably hook up the wiring to the steering column and just have it sitting here because I can predict there's going to be problems with that, like there's problems with every other part of this. And just continue with the wiring. The car looks like it has a lot more left to do, but it really doesn't. The wiring is the last big thing. And then it comes out to cosmetics, you know, with the paint and stuff, which will be a learning curve for me. But here it is, another video.